The farmhouse was a fortress against forgetting. Elias, 52, gripped by the suffocating fog of early-onset dementia, had transformed his life into a gallery of rigid clarity. Every surface in the secluded main farmhouse was covered in physical memory aids. The refrigerator bore a label. Fridge contains milk, eggs, orange juice. The shoes by the door read boots, worn for morning walk at 7 a.m. His wife, Sarah, patient and endlessly kind, was identified by a note pinned to her dressing gown. Sarah, your wife, met 1998, loves tea. But the system was failing. The fog was thickening, and lately Elias hadn't just been forgetting. He had been finding things he didn't recognize. It started with the post-it notes. On the back of the pantry door, amidst his usual list of dietary restrictions, he found a note scrawled in his own familiar, hurried hand. It read, "Do not eat the apple pie." "Honey," Elias called, leaning against the doorframe. "Did you make pie today?" Sarah, whose smooth, perpetually calm voice was his anchor, emerged from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "No, dear. We finished that 3 days ago. Perhaps you just confused yourself." She smiled, placing a warm, soothing hand on his arm, and Elias felt the anxiety recede. He was safe with Sarah. He always was. The confusion, however, refused to be dismissed. The next discovery was far worse. While dusting the seldom-used attic, Elias found a loose floorboard. Beneath it lay not just dust, but a rusty antique key and a micro-cassette recorder. He hadn't used one of these in 20 years. He fumbled with the key, opening a small, locked metal box hidden inside the chest of drawers labeled "Tools for Repairs." Inside the box was a tape labeled simply "S Crime." Elias pressed play. The voice that emerged was his own, but younger, clearer, panicked. It wasn't the voice of the fragmented man who relied on labels. It was the voice of the man he used to be. Recording. Past Elias. "God, I can't remember. I can't remember where I put her. The West Well. Did I check the West Well? She knows. She's coming back. You have to stop her, Elias. You have to remember the truth. The woman in the kitchen is not who she says she is. She is waiting for the memory to fade. I put her there, in the West Well. The memory, it's the only truth left." The tape clicked off. Elias felt a cold sweat break out, unrelated to the attic heat. The message was horrifyingly clear. His former rational self was trying to communicate a terrible secret before the disease erased it completely. He hadn't just forgotten his life. He had forgotten a crime. He had murdered someone, and his past self was warning the future self. He raced downstairs, his heart pounding a frantic, arrhythmic beat. He looked at Sarah, pouring tea in the kitchen, the woman in the kitchen. He saw her smooth, perfect smile and felt a rush of protectiveness. Nonsense. Dementia whispers lies, but the terror was real. He had to find the West Well. It was the only way to silence the accusation of his younger self. He rushed out the back door, heading toward the overgrown western perimeter, consulting the massive, tattered map pinned to the mudroom wall labeled Farm Layout, 1985. He needed to check the coordinates, but a strange compulsion made him rip the heavy map from the wall. He needed to be absolutely sure. The back of the map, usually blank, was covered in desperate, deep scoring, etched not with a pen, but perhaps a knife or a key. The scratches were too messy to have been done by his current shaky hand. It was a final, frantic, primal message from the man he used to be. The horror was revealed, but the nature of the crime was shifted. The jagged letters read, "She left 3 years ago. I am the intruder. She lives in the memory holes. Kill her." Elias stared at the words, his mind reeling. He was the intruder. He hadn't murdered someone and hidden them in the well. His wife had left, and the woman inside was a stranger, a doppelganger who had moved in to harvest the chaos of his collapsing mind. He spun around, looking back at the kitchen window. The woman he knew as Sarah, his anchor, was staring directly at him, no longer smiling. Her eyes were flat, assessing. He suddenly noticed a detail he'd never seen before, a tiny, almost invisible scar near her left wrist. a detail that contradicted an old, meticulously labeled photograph he had seen just yesterday. A second later, the back door creaked open. The woman stepped onto the porch holding a single ceramic mug. "Elias," she called, her voice calm, the perfect imitation of comfort. "I made you a special cup of tea. It will help you settle down. Come inside." But Elias couldn't move. He had just received his final, undeniable truth. His greatest fear wasn't dementia, but the terrifying realization that everything he had built his reality on, his memories, his safety, and the love of his wife, was a deliberate, lethal lie. He dropped the map, and the wind blew dust over the scrawled warning. The woman took a slow step off the porch, her perfect smile chillingly unnatural. The woman took a slow step off the porch, her perfect smile chillingly unnatural.